Welcome to the Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Roling. Do you believe you are capable of choosing your future? Sometimes it takes just one person to believe in you, or you to believe in yourself. If you find yourself continuing to say, someday I will take better care of myself, only to continue living the same day over and over and over again, then you, my friend, are in the right place. I am your biggest cheerleader, inspiring you to become you on purpose and with intention. Are you ready to create a life you love? I'm excited to share with you some big ideas that you can use today to inspire, impact, and influence your life and everyone in it. The Becoming You show starts now. Hello, my friends. How are you? How was your week? I was just talking to my producer about what I was going to do this week, and it's going to be no surprise to you that I will be at baseball this weekend, which is where you will have found me ever since March. So we are going strong in baseball. So that'll be really fun. I hope you have amazing plans for your 4th, and I hope you have a very safe and fun 4th of July. I have some sad news to share with you all today. Have you ever gotten your colors done? Apparently, there are colors that look better on you than others. There are summer colors and autumn colors and winter colors and spring. Who knew? Obviously, I didn't. So it turns out that I'm a summer. So my hair is wrong, my makeup was wrong, and the saddest news ever is that I shouldn't wear black, and I shouldn't wear white, and I shouldn't wear gray. And while I mourn not being able to wear the 3 color palettes that I own, black, white, and gray, I am super excited to talk to you about today's topic. And it's one that I coach a lot on, and that is of relationships. And what I know for sure is that meaningful relationships are the single most important indicator to living a happy and long life. Not because I say so, because research shows that living happier and longer, relationships matter. They're everything. And I want that for each and every one of you. So I want us to get really good at creating and experiencing meaningful relationships. So how are we going to do that? First, we're going to learn a little bit about the types of connections that we have with others. We're going to learn, number 2, about how to improve those connections. And number 3, we're going to learn about where we're sabotaging in our relationships with other people. And I get it. I coach a lot of women and men that have fallen out of touch with what is available for them in their relationships. Life just happens. We're on a hamster wheel. We're living in Groundhog's Day. Kids have happened. Exhaust and burnout has happened. Resentment and heartache. And that disconnects us from the level of connection that's possible, not just with ourselves, but with others. And when we know what we are doing to sabotage these connections, we can choose to show up differently for ourselves and for our spouses and for every other single relationship that we have. And I promise you, doing this work is for your benefit. I know it seems like, why would I want to put myself out there again? He doesn't deserve it, or my mother-in-law doesn't deserve it, or my sister doesn't deserve it, right? Or they're just too difficult, or there's too much water under the bridge. And you know what I know for sure is that if you think they're difficult, you will have a difficult relationship with them. If you think that there's too much water under the bridge, then that relationship will never be healed. Okay? So what would it take for you to reconnect with your relationships? Whether it is with your spouse, your significant other, family member, child, friend, neighbor, I want you to think about the people in your life. And like we usually do on this show, I want you to ask yourself, how would you rate yourself in each of these areas? of your connection with them. Each of these areas we're going to talk about today invites you to grow and to expand, and not only your relationship with others, but the one that you have with yourself. So I want you to think about that person, whoever it is. Maybe it's your husband, significant other, your mom, your sister, your brother, it doesn't matter. But I want you to think about that person with these areas of connection in mind, because we're going to rank them today. We're going to rate where you are. And my hope is that I'm going to give you some insights and maybe some inspiration to up level your rating in each of these. Okay, so let's start with emotional, the emotional connection that we have. Now, emotional connection is one of the most critical in our connections with other people. Emotional connection is all about sharing your honest thoughts, your honest feelings. It's being able to share who you are and your deepest desires with another person. And that brings you closer together, obviously. Feeling safe and comfortable with this type of authentic and vulnerable expression builds that trust. And when you know that they won't judge you for sharing what is on your mind and heart, you become more connected with them. True connection is about truth. When you realize you can tell someone your truth, when you can show yourself to them, when you stand in front of them and their response is, "You're safe with me," that's the connection that I want with others and for you. It's sharing your deepest dreams, your desires, your fears without concern that they will handle it well. How can you tell the story of your heart, the one that says, "I love me and I love you and I love us"? And what type of connection would that look like? So I want you to rate yourself, right? How emotionally connected are you with your people? This requires connection with yourself. It requires you to look honestly inward. How are you feeling? What do you need? And share that openly with the people that you love, not for them to meet that need, but for them to be aware of it. So rate yourself. 1, I'm detached from what I need emotionally. I fine away my life. I pretend that I'm okay when I'm not. 10, being I know exactly how I feel. And I can share that openly with the people in my life without anger, without overwhelm, without drama, and without, wait for it, expectation. You improve this area of connection by making an intentional effort to communicate how you feel, what you need, what you want, and why. You improve this by paying attention to you, which means, friends, we have to stop ignoring ourselves. Okay? Next one. I digressed on that one. Next one, intellectual connection. That's the next one. Intellectual connection is being comfortable, right? Sharing your viewpoints, your beliefs. These could be political, they could be about your values, they could be philosophical. Regardless, you feel safe telling the other person what you believe and inviting them to share their beliefs with you. Even if you disagree. I think some of the most exciting conversations with people are when you are in disagreement with one another. Being interested in others' opinions creates stimulating conversations. Can you offer space for them to be right and you to be right? You don't have to be wrong about it for them to be right, and they don't have to be wrong about it for you to be right. Can you meet them in the middle with respect and openness? Can you accept that they might have their own opinions around a lot of the things, just like you? This can be talking about movies, like Top Gun or Maverick, which is better. We have a divide in our house about that. We can talk about parenting, philosophy, education, politics, religion. So I want you to rate yourself on intellectual connection. What's your intellectual connection with the people that you want to do this life with? Are there certain things that you will share to them freely and others not? Maybe if so, you rate yourself a 2 or a 3. If you freely share everything on your mind, maybe you're a 10. And I like to improve this area wherever you are in this by learning more about what they are interested in so that you can have more thought-provoking conversations or ask them to teach you about something that they're passionate in. I got to learn a lot about Fortnite and TikTok and Bitcoin this way. Sharing knowledge with someone that you care about is super fun, and it is fulfilling. It shows that you care about them and what's important to them. So that's my little tip for increasing your connection in that intellectual awareness. The next one, experiential connection. It's just as it sounds. Sharing experiences, inside jokes, trying new things, that can create obviously a different bond with people, especially things that require teamwork or working towards a shared goal. It can bring you closer together, whether that's training for a marathon, or we just got done, my husband and I got done putting in a new outdoor space with a jacuzzi and a living area and a fire pit. That was experiential. Traveling, going to concerts, roaming randomly around a city, making dinner. So I want you to rate yourself. Are you creating on purpose different experiences for yourself? Or are you just going through the motions? I know when I was talking about this with my husband, I didn't rate myself very high on this one with us. I'm sure some of it had to do with, COVID, and we weren't traveling as much as that we like. We weren't going to as many concerts. We weren't going to Chicago for like really quick trip getaways. So this is an area that we are becoming more mindful of. And so we're creating different experiences, even if it's just traveling around town or trying different restaurants. I like to keep a list to choose from. And so maybe you take out a piece of paper and you write down all the things that you want to do with your person now and perhaps later. And maybe have them do the same. And then you can just pick out of a hat what you're going to do when the question is asked, what do you want to do tonight? What do you want to do this weekend? And if it's the same old thing, and so you just end up not doing anything, maybe you make that a practice for this coming July. Yes, we're ending a new month. I geek out on it. We're starting a new month. Maybe that can be your practice for the month of July. Next, spiritual connection. It doesn't have to necessarily do with religion or faith. It can, of course, but it's more about sharing emotionally significant moments that help bring you closer together. And while, yes, that might involve praying together or going to church, it doesn't have to. It could be watching a sunset or walking hand in hand on a beach or sitting at your fire pit, having conversations about life and death, conversations around what each of you believe in that is higher than yourself. And if there's not another level higher for you, then what do you believe in? What do you have faith in for yourself, for your relationship with your person, or for your future? So rate yourself. 1, I avoid these types of conversations, right? Like no politics, and no speaking of religion. Or 10, I freely talk about what I believe regularly, freely, openly, honestly. Okay, next and last, physical intimacy. It's built around touch and being physically close to another person. It's for couples, it's kissing and holding hands and cuddling and sex. To be physically connected with a person will be different for every single person on the planet. You just get to decide what you need and what you want from it. So 1, I don't share what I need and act on what I want. 10, that I have the level of physical connection that I want. And I share it openly and honestly and freely with my person. Okay, so now that we know the types of connections that are available for us, I want to share with you the one requirement to level up in your connection in all these areas, to get from whatever number you were on each of these 2 or 3 points higher. Regardless of how you rated yourself, the one thing that will make a massive difference in the level of meaning and fulfillment in your relationship, yes, every single area, is vulnerability. Connection is not something that just happens between two people. It is a way of being. It's a choosing. At every moment, we are choosing either to reveal ourselves or protect ourselves, to value ourselves or to diminish ourselves, to tell the truth or to hide, to dive freely into life or to avoid it. Janine Roth has this quote, and I love it, and I'm going to read it to you. Meaningful connection is making the choice to be connected to rather than isolated from our deepest truth at that moment. Friends, revealing ourselves, valuing ourselves, telling the truth, diving all in, and connecting, loving harder requires vulnerability. In order for us to be truly intimate with any relationship we have to be honest. And that requires vulnerability. The key to getting a different result in your life is vulnerability, an openness to grow. And I want you to consider that all growth requires an unlearning. You can't learn what you think you know, meaning in order to get a different result in your life, more connection with the people in your life, you will have to challenge what you think you know. You will have to challenge your existing beliefs, your decisions, your conclusions, your assumptions. You will have to challenge the way you see the world, the very essence of who you think you are, how you show up, why you show up, what you think about, what you do, how you interact with others in the world, and what you've come to believe about the way the world works has to be unlearned. It requires a beginner's mindset, an open mindset, a growth mindset, a vulnerable mindset. It doesn't matter what type of mindset you call it, but it has to be one that is willing to consider that you could be wrong about that. Willing to consider that you could want to be wrong about that. And how can you write this? Not how can I be right about this? Conflicts in our relationships, my friends, happen when vulnerability isn't present. Think about it. It takes two hurt or angry or scared or defensive people to have a conflict. If we only have one person that's upset, we don't have a fight. We have one upset person. The defense always starts the war. I tell this to my kids all of the time. The defense always starts the war. So if you're tired of fighting, if you're tired of dealing with that quote unquote difficult person, tired of having that difficult conversation, there's just three things that I want you to consider to do. One, you got to understand why you're upset. And it's okay that you get upset. I don't want you to be mad at yourself about it. I just want you to understand the real reason, which is always a story in your mind that might not necessarily be true. So can you be willing to be wrong about that story? Can you unlearn that story? Can you rewrite a different story, one that is riddled in curiosity and compassion and not in defense and envy? Can you be willing to be wrong about what you're believing? Even if you've been making yourself be right about it for a really long time, I get it. It takes a dropping of your pride. It takes a checking of your ego. It doesn't take a long time. Even if you've been trying to be right for a long time, what it takes is a choice to be courageous. And lastly, could you choose what you want to feel ahead of time? Instead of being upset the next time a fight feels imminent, could you just choose to be more curious? Could you just choose to be more compassionate, to be more empathetic? Maybe you do want to remove yourself from the situation, but those times don't require you to not be in alignment with the best version of who it is that you are. All of these can be good options, but I want you to decide in advance how you want to feel and how you want to show up when these situations will undoubtedly happen. Becoming more vulnerable requires courage. It requires an honest reflection about how you're showing up in your relationships. Are you holding back? Are you hiding to protect yourself? Are you diminishing yourself with "I'm fine" or "it doesn't matter" when it actually does? Are you avoiding? Are you disconnecting? There's no judgment. I just want you to see where you're not being vulnerable. Vulnerability is in the middle. And what I mean by that is when there are times when there are difficult conversations, and again, I'm putting difficult in air quotes here because there's no such thing as a difficult conversation. You've heard me say this almost probably on every single podcast. It's only a difficult conversation if you make it be a difficult conversation. Otherwise, it's just a conversation that you get to choose how you're going to show up into. Are you going to show up avoiding it and pretending that whatever it is doesn't matter? Okay, that's on this side. Or are you going to show up mad, as if you have to be mad in order to prove your rightness? Could you just show up and be direct and honest about what it is that you feel without anyone having to be wrong? You both could be right. And by experiences, you are. You are both right. So what would that look like for you to show up in the middle? In the middle. As I mentioned, it will require some vulnerability. It would require you to start within. I believe that when we can be more vulnerable with ourselves, we can be more vulnerable with others. So that courageous interest in who you are, in what you need, in how you feel, in what you're thinking about matters. And when you can matter, it makes it way more fun to have the people that you want to do this life with matter. I hope that you have enjoyed this today. And if you know anyone in your life that might be struggling with their relationships, probably every single person on the planet struggles with that one person that they constantly have drama around. It's not necessary. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't make you more connected to them. It disconnects you from them and yourself. If you know of anyone, could you just forward this to them? Right? Relationships are the most important part of this life. So do a check with yourself. Do you have fulfilling and meaningful relationships? How can you bring a little bit more vulnerability in every single conversation, in every single encounter? The world needs more of it. The world needs you to inspire it. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. Live lighter, be vulnerable, love harder. I'll see you next Friday, same time. See you soon.
You have been listening to the Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Roling, where I share big ideas to inspire, impact, and influence your life. Tune in every Friday at 11 Central on transformationtalkradio.com for your morning cup of coffee, the hug you never want to end, and that inspirational message that you felt was written just for you. Each show is inspiring you to become you with purpose and intention. For more information or to connect with me, visit www.leahroling.com.